Every thought, you can be free just like that. At an instant. Bring every thought into captivity. It's so amazing. You can't run from evil within yourself or outside of self. You got to deal with it. And you need good in order to deal with evil. And God is good. You need to return to the Father. And you'll see within you, he will fight the battle for you. And he will fight it without, because he will show you how to deal with it. And you will have no fear. Love God with all your heart, all your soul, all your might, along with nothing else. Nothing else means yourself, your children, your wife, your things, your ego, your reputation, and all that. You can't care about any of that. The children of anger will use it to control you. But if you love God, he will renew your mind, and none of those things will be before him. And so when they go after you, oh, well, you may take my body, you may take my things, but you're not going to take my soul. And that's a true reality. I have books that are amazing. I highly recommend you get them. 7 Guaranteed Steps to Spiritual, Family, and Financial Success Guide. Even if you're not starting a business, but you have a job, or you're on welfare, it can help you if you do. Be doers of the word, all right? From rage to responsibility. From rage. That's what I write about in the first chapter, especially how I overcame. Scam. How the black leadership exploits black Americans. They are using them, and blacks are too willing to be used. And then my last book, The Antidote, Healing America from the Poison of Hate, Blame, and Victimhood. They are all amazing books, and they are helpful. Go to rebuildingtheman.com if you want an autographed copy, or call 800-411-2663. Isn't Nick a Mexican?
Colombian.
He calls himself American.
What is this?
Anchor Baby.
And in this corner, it's the American Anchor Baby.
Daddy's home.
That's an offensive term. People find that hurtful.
You mean it's not politically correct? Excuse me. I'll use the word anchor baby. You know, he's an anchor baby in Canada.
Tell him we still rolling with Trump, too.
Anchor baby, the whole thing sounds horrific. You're just making it sound like immigrants are these horrific, greedy people.
Ustedes pueden aceptar mi negocio o aceptar las consecuencias. Plata o plomo.
So you would be considered white, in my opinion.
You the blackest one in this room.
I think so.
And what happened was his mama got pregnant on the other side of the border, and then a few hours before, just before it was time for him to pop out, she jumped across the border and let him fall on American soil. So he became the anchor baby. You don't call him the anchor baby for nothing. Amazing.
We like this anchor baby, right?
Hello, I'm the American Anchor Baby, and this is my show. How you doing, folks? Wow, I'm loud in my headphones. I am blasting in my headphones, in my own little ears. How you doing, folks? I'm the American Anchor Baby, and I'm live on my show. Pleasure to be with you here on this fine Thursday. What a nice Thursday it is. An absolute pleasure to be back, because I got a bit of a show for you today. We're going to get into it, you know. There's a number of things here we're going to get into, but there's something interesting. I'm almost seeing the Matrix here. I'm seeing the code. I'm looking at everybody, maybe even within, and I see, I got to say, it's like I can almost see Satan playing with everyone's minds. Right now, there's this whole thing. Summarize it with the word extrajudicial. You know, there's all this, well, if the rules don't matter, if the rules don't matter, then, right, F it. Doesn't matter. Decorum doesn't matter. Liking the stream doesn't matter. You know, general attitude doesn't matter. Just, pull the lever on anger, flush it down. And it's just this mentality I'm noticing. It's just a little interesting thing. I can almost see what's about to happen. I can almost see the obvious response the world is about to have, concerning a number of the things that have just gone so viral that really we should be done with. We should really be done with, especially talking about multiple days. But, I'm going to do it too. I'm on this show. I'm like, okay, last time we'll talk about Carmelo. And then people call, da-da-da. So you know how it goes. But that being said, Kilmar, Garcia, Trump going against the Supreme Court and extrajudicial. And, well, if the rules don't matter. You can see them responding, oh, well, if Trump's going to do that, well, then we're going to do this. Well, if the white people are going to just get mad, go angry, we're going to do this. Well, if the blacks are just going to defend, you get it a bit maybe. Something on my mind over here. So we'll see what we get into today. You'll probably maybe see some of this in the number of items that we have for today. So we got a bit of a show. Welcome, everybody. If you want to get in on the conversation, you could talk. Call 888-775. Wait, sorry. 888-775-3773. A bit of a show. That's all we get. How you doing, Terry? Hello, everybody. Snake Pit, Mr. Pink, Mark, Lord Spike Protein. Shout out to the supporters. Shout out to everybody. Thor mode. But where was I? 888-775-3773. Get in on the convo. I'm live on rumble.com/American Anchor Baby, who held me close, who nurtured me in when I was the punished Anchor Baby. So shout out to Rumble and the viewers over there who are stretching their legs right now without all the riff-raff in the chat. Punchy.tv, make an account on Punchy.tv. DLive.tv/Gorgonzola won't be forgotten. The alleyways, you guys like it being an alleyway, I think. I'm not trying to color it badly. It's nice. You guys are cool, DLive. But, of course, the people on YouTube, how you doing, everybody? Linya Chin kicking it off with a big super chat. Says, Spakaru Brow Sun. Sparkle Blouse Sun, if I may translate. The AI understands, quote-unquote, my bias against misused suffix and convoluted phrasing of intellectuals as they slaughter syntax. They are so putrid. My bias understands. Are you saying the AI, when you speak to it, it understands your, let's humorously call it, stretching and abuse maybe of the English language maybe, and it understands you and you're saying it's a bad influence? Are you saying the AI is a bad influence because it totally gets you, your phraseology and all that? Is the tech just a mirror amplifying us? What's going on here? Maybe I didn't get your super chat, but thanks for it anyways. You could explain yourself maybe. I am watching. All right, folks, welcome. I think that's all the housekeeping. Click the like button. Don't be rude. Show some decorum. I was thinking about, we got calls coming in. We'll get to all you. 888-775-3773. I guess we'll do this quick and I'll jump to calls. I was thinking a bit about, okay, so I mentioned this tweet, for example. This post. I will never get over that. I don't think I'll ever get over that. But let's cancel those words. Elon Musk, I'll cancel those words for you. But you remember I showed this video that Donald Trump posted on X of Biden, right? No commentary. And Biden here is, I think this was a controversial moment or something. 32 million views now. And this was supposed to be this controversial moment where he's, what was the full context too? Because someone said it here. Someone said it here in the comments, but he was essentially talking about some moment in the past, and which is vague, but the point is it was some memory, and he was describing a bus of black kids going by or whatever. Let's just play it. Here's 14 seconds. And he calls them colored or whatever. I forget if he was just remembering them being called that or...
And I'd never seen hardly any black people in Scranton at the time I was only going in the 4th grade. And I remember seeing the kids going by at the time called colored kids on a bus going by. And I'd never seen hardly any black people in Scranton at the time I was only going in the 4th grade. And I remember seeing the kids going by at the time called colored kids on a bus going by.
Okay, so I don't know why I'm not understanding it, but they call them colored kids. Controversial. No comment. Donald Trump posted. I was saying something like, well, I didn't say much of it. It wasn't that deep to me, but I was like, oh, is he doing the let's call them racist, they're the real racists, the Democrats, Biden, that doesn't really, I don't care, that doesn't matter to me kind of thing, personally. I don't believe in such a thing, right? Racism, let's just speak honestly. But I was thinking a couple of things about this, actually, because that's kind of I noticed that's kind of a common response, actually. You might think of it as based, maybe. Racism doesn't exist. That is fine. That's the truth. But this response to the video and this general concept of cringing because a Republican is doing this thing where they're trying to not be racist. But I don't know if that's all it was. Okay, here's what it made me think of, I guess. Because I'm almost about to maybe assume what's in the heart of Donald Trump, so let's not maybe do too much of that. But I get this impression of him. He really is a love guy. He's a love guy. When you just hear him talk about Americans, America, what he wants to do, who he's taken the fight to, who's come up against him, and he sticks to it. Screams leader to me. I've never really seen one. Not on that stage, right? So if I see him, put it like this, like, if there's anything to be said here, that's maybe a deeper conversation, that's maybe, right, deeper than some of us who kind of just got into politics. We're jumping on the internet, seeing all this happening, and it's like, well, bleh, that's just you pretending to ingratiate yourself to the blacks, right? It's just more crap. But it might, there might be some levels. There's something deeper to be said about the conversation now, because it's like it's been some years. It can't be the same old. And just consider this concept for a second: being hard on crime. Just consider what a concept, right? But consider the lack of love and understanding and just the deepness of that word, understanding, that there has to be for America to not be hard on crime. Carmelo comes to mind and all that. I'm thinking a bit about that conversation Chad Jackson brought up on the Hake Report. Just consider, to at the point where we're at, to save the civilization, for it to not devolve, you got to make an example of Carmelo, not in an extrajudicial, harsh way. I'm not asking for anything like that. I'm just saying that this can't be in any way good. Just a slap on the wrist. But imagine just being hard on crime. How much you wouldn't have to go into this, I don't know, this maybe sometimes confusing conversation on who are we? What does this skin color mean? I'm adding color to it where maybe I don't need to, but just consider being hard on crime. Think about how simple that is and what a charge that is to the public, whoever you are, whatever side you're on, whatever complaint you may have. The only reason it is difficult to deal with this black criminality and all that, to make an example, so-called, serve justice, whatever, Carmelo, is fear. Basic evil things from the heart. Your heart is evil. Fear. Fear, anger, let's summarize it. Not trying to on and on, but you get it. Yeah, that's why it's hard. That's the only reason it's hard. And imagine just being hard on crime. So anyways, yeah. That's the revolution, folks. The revolution, it's like, doing the right thing is the revolution. It's seen crazy. You know how crazy you're seen? By just being like a real person out. speaking your mind freely without fear of like, so what's it? That trips people out. That trips people out, but it attracts them to you and whatever. Be a free man. I see Trump as a loving guy, so whatever. I don't know. I really don't know why he posted that video, but I'm bringing it back up because there's a deeper way to think of this, at least for me personally. I don't know what Trump's thinking, but then the just common response. I really kind of was peddling in a bit of a common response. You might think, wow, GOP doing the same old thing. Nah, we're gonna be racist. But it's like that's a common response. That's just another common response. So there's something deeper than that. More mature, call it. They call it love. But anyways. Yeah, Chad Jackson in the chat. What's up, man? Yeah, it hit. It big time hit. Just consider the absolute. Thanks for being in the chat, Chad O. Jackson. But just consider it's a total charge to the public. It's all right there. You don't even have to get into the nitty gritties of all this confusing conversation. It wouldn't even be such a drag fest if we could just be honest and do the right thing. But anyways, I want to get to William. William out of California, thanks for your call. Let me just unmute you here, sir. You're on the air.
It has been a minute, hasn't it?
How you doing, William? Nice to hear from you.
You too, man. You had a good show yesterday with Mark pointing out some of the things that you guys were talking about with the civil rights movement and the impact that it had on the black community in particular. I think Mark's right. It was a negative impact.
Mm-hmm. Just total.
The whole thing. It's a negative impact. Look, before that, all you have to do is look and see how many two-parent homes the blacks had before the civil rights.
They had them. So this is true, right? I hear from older black people, they want to tell me it's a lie, but it can't be, right?
It's not a lie. They were more intact as a family unit than their counterpart white families. You see.
Right.
White families at that time went from the late 50s to the 60s, which would make what was the popular thing back in the late 50s was rock and roll and, as you know, jazz. You're into music.
Yes, sir.
I'm not talking about fusion jazz that they got now with Kenny G. I'm talking about real.
You're hearing all the stuff I'm playing on JLP show or something, or is that a commentary?
No, I'm talking about there's a difference between fusion jazz and like a pop jazz, and then you have the jazz that Miles and you know this because you're in music, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Progressive jazz, and what came with the late 50s and progressive jazz. If you weren't a young kid, young kids were in rock and roll, Beatles, Elvis, but the people that in college, they were into theory and thinking. And the late 50s, they were called beatniks, and the beatniks transferred over to the hippie. So that's when the free love kicked in, Vietnam, all that. So
that's what that is. I've heard that word growing up, but it was like a subculture kind of thing.
Yeah, it was. And
like a punk.
The reason why I say black families were more intact in their counter-white parts, more so, just a percentage above, because white people got into the beatnik thing and the hippie thing and free love, and they started making divorce common. And that started like in the late 50s, early 60s.
Mark brought that up, yeah.
Yeah, he's right.
Yeah, he was saying just that. Let me ask you something, William. Do you get at all uncomfortable hearing Mark sometimes? And the reason I ask, you say not at all? Not at all.
Not at all. He actually knows more about black history than maybe somebody like you were talking to Maze yesterday.
Right.
She's just lying. I mean, because she is straight lying, because anybody around my age, 55, 60, 61, 62, none of those kids experienced segregation. None of us. That's Mark's group. They were ending it when he was a teenager. So he knows what he's talking about. Some white people know more about black people than black people know about themselves. Yes, the families work together.
That's amazing.
More so than
this is the kind of thing that needs to be known. And it's like, I ask you that because I see my own like program. I don't know if it's programming fair, but I just grew up a certain way, right? And I can still have like a higher mind about it and see, but I have it goes deep, this like programming in a sense. And I don't know if it's programming or what it is, but I know that I sometimes feel uncomfortable. I know that's just from me. I know that's either like the way I grew up, but I on the facts, you can't deny. If it's facts, it's facts. Anger, and you know what else is a fact? Anger is evil, and anyone anger is lost. So, and if that's Mark or not, that's not. If I'm wrong about that or right about that, doesn't matter. The facts are the facts.
You know what? I really have a hard time believing Mark. I don't think he really dislikes black people more than he dislikes what they do. And when he grew up, they didn't do those things. And that civil rights movement created like this kid, Carmelo.
Yeah.
There were things going on. I can make this real easy for you. How old are you now? Well, okay, what year were you born? Say that.
94.
94. Were you really paying attention to Bill Clinton and what was going on in the White House?
No. Let me think. I don't think I even heard that.
Were you paying attention to Rodney King? You weren't paying. You were
no. Definitely not Rodney King. I think the first time I heard of Clinton was maybe in cartoons when I was growing up, and I saw him playing saxophone in cartoons.
Okay, so Mark is a little older than me. I'm born in 60. Kennedy was killed in 63. The next one was Malcolm X. The next one was it Robert Kennedy or Martin Luther King? All four of them, by the time I was 8 years old, were gone, killed. You really think at 8 years old William was following that?
Huh.
And
it's simply is that simple?
As simple as that, man. And do you really think my parents in our household discussed those things with me and my brother?
I have to say, I have to assume no.
No, they did not. They kept us away from all of that stuff. And I grew up during the 60s, and all of the Black Panthers and the hippies, and they were all in the Bay Area. That wasn't something that kids were involved with. That's why I say anything this age and younger. You go Maze, you go Ronnie, you go Tony, you go Freddie, you go Jason. They are straight up lying. And if your parents were preaching this in your household, your parents are suspect because real parents don't discuss those kind of things with kids. So you said it right there. You wasn't paying attention to Bill Clinton, Rodney King back then when you was a kid.
No.
So you have to.
But that was right. That was a topic. That was a house. Maybe happened in households.
It was a hot topic.
In households where talking about that and telling them how to think about that too, especially young.
You really don't be discussing all that stuff. Actually, you don't even be paying attention to it as a kid, nor do your parents even share that with you as a kid. And if they display that in front of you when you was a kid, you create a Carmelo Anthony. He thought that was okay to bring a knife to school. I don't know how anybody, let's just say, I don't know how the blacks can even find themselves to celebrate this situation like a win. It's not a win.
That's really the most, that's really the center of the topic. It's this reaction.
He's probably going to spend the rest of his life in jail.
You think that's how it'll turn out?
California. Let me straighten you out on this one. That ain't California. You might get a slap on the wrist here. Not so much in Texas.
Okay, so you think that's how it'll go down?
It's going to go down, but I'm going to tell you.
Won't be good.
What do you think? How about this, Nick?
I really don't know.
You've been to school. I've been to school. When was it okay to bring a weapon to school? You tell me.
I can't remember whenever that was okay.
Thank you.
But I really don't know how this will turn out.
It's going to start with that. I think it's going to start with, why did you bring a weapon to school on the campus?
Incredible. Yeah, and just the response to the details exactly. Well, they say there's some video coming out. They say they have video of the situation.
Well, see, if this was L.A., San Francisco, the Bay Area, San Diego or whatever, in California, all the way up to Seattle. If that had happened out on the West Coast, all the video would have been shown. All over the internet, all over the news, everything. Texas, not so much. You're going to probably hold that footage until they get to the courts.
Loud and clear, William. Appreciate that, man.
All right, Nick, it was good talking to you.
Absolutely. Man. Call me again.
Okay.
888-775-3773. I got something for you here that you guys got to tell me what you think. And my take is, no, I'll tell you what I think too. But there's an interesting thing. There's this interesting video going around, and it's viral because you got a white man going off on a microphone, and he's taking the mic and saying the N-word. And he's doing it for a reason. Let me see if I could pull it up here. And it's centered around this bill that's being passed. And I want to just pull this up here. Hold on. Oh, that's a little too loud. Hold on, folks. I'm going to turn that all down. Michigan. I think we're going to Michigan here. Wait, hold on. This is Michigan SB 857. Michigan. It's about guns. It's a gun legislation. And I'm going to let, in a bit here, I'll let one of these, I'll let an individual here, Jim Runestad, Senator Jim Runestad, Michigan. He'll explain this bill, I'm sure better than I, but essentially it's a gun legislation thing. They're trying to make it more difficult to own a gun. And they have a really, I don't know if this is normal. It just seems like something I've never heard of. And you hear about, I remember seeing memes about laws, local laws and all that. I don't know if it's local, it's Michigan. But you hear about laws that are funny, but maybe areas have a reason for them. But I failed to, it seems strange. It seems to me like this law centers around giving the ability to elderly people to bring down a PPO, a protective order on somebody, strip them of their rights to own a firearm and all that. And the criteria given that empowers elders over 60 to do this is weird, And one of the points is simply buying or possessing a firearm. So like you live near an elderly person. This is how I'm understanding it. And they see you buy a gun and maybe you've been fighting. Maybe, I don't know. They could take you to court and say, look, this is the bill says I could take this guy to court and prove this is a problem, strip him of his gun rights. It gets a little weird, but this guy is going viral. Seems like a somewhat young guy. He's the Norwood Reaper. And I don't say that lightly or glibly. But the Norwood Reaper may be at a 2, maybe at almost 2 with our fella here. But I think I'm going to just play the whole thing because you guys got to tell me. It's one of those clips that might be, spicy. Oh, let's see what the people think. What's up, Gregatron? Man, thank you for the super chat. It's the Nick Show. Shout out. And I'm going to get to you, Linya Chin. We'll do super chats. Spend a little bit more time on that. So, yeah, it's one of those clips that you might want to give your 2 cents here. But he is making a point about this legislation, how it's wrong. And, I think to get the take, you guys got to kind of maybe see his end. You got to see the whole thing the way I saw it. I think that's the only fair way to do it. I think that's the only fair way to do this. So what do y'all think about this?
Avi Rocklin.
Absolutely not.
His mic is just like that, so bear with that. All right, here he goes, going off.
Absolutely not. That is the message that voters sent last week when they decided to eject representatives from the State House and send Donald Trump into the White House. And rather than recognizing the will of the people and deciding to restore Republicans to the State House, Democrats have embarked on an effort of retaliation and retribution to cram through all of the...
Do you have a comment specifically about the legislation? Do you have a comment specifically about the legislation?
This is a bill that's been sitting for 6 months and has done nothing with, but then at the last second you bring it up, you amend it, you think that we don't realize that you tried to ban carry everywhere that had a liquor license, every gas station. If the combined IQ of the individuals who proposed this bill didn't catch that 6 months ago, then they shouldn't be serving as legislatures. Now, to the bill itself. This is supposed to be about keeping people safe because people with CPLs are out there committing so much violence in the Capitol and everywhere else. Well, thankfully, the Michigan State Police actually compiles a CPL report every single year. And I can tell you...
CPL report. CPL is concealed... it has to do with concealed firearms, okay? CPL license, Michigan. Gotta get the abbreviation right. You know what I'm saying? Concealed pistol license. CPLs. Just catching you up if you're not following. Because I had to back it up when I saw this part. Yeah, that's what a CPL is. And this centers one of the things that pushed this bill forward, a reason cited is this increase, this disproportionate this spike in criminality amongst CPL holders. They're citing that holders of this legal concealed pistol license are committing crimes. There's a spike of it. And so he's about to talk about that. So you following? Just catching everybody up for those who are in the back of the class like me.
And everywhere else. Well, thankfully, the Michigan State Police actually compiles a CPL report every single year. And I can tell you that I have the stats right here, and the crime rate of CPL holders in the state of Michigan is 0.002%. That is half as much as police officers. Now, in terms of specifically in this Capitol, the only documented incident of somebody being shot...
Wait, what? Folks, I feel silly. I'm going to let this play do the segment the way we did, but I'm just looking at this timestamp down here. Does that say 11/14/24? This is an old video? This was posted 2024? Why? Is this just going viral or something? I feel silly. But anyways, this may be a year old. Darn. Watch this. Anyways. He's telling so you're following, right? CPL. You look, I got the stats. I got it printed out. I got the stats. The crime rate of these CPL holders is actually less than even cops.
Cataloged it when 2 Michigan State police officers shot and killed each other because one of them, a female, was being bullied because she was fat. I'm not making that up. So that's the only time
that went in, right? Because I broke it up by pause, you may be confused, but he just mentioned, you guys want to set up these laws to not allow us to carry in the Capitol or in this building there. Well, the last time anything happened, anybody got shot here, was because some woman got mad because she got called fat. And I think it had to do with, she was an officer, I think.
Quote, gun violence has ever taken place within this building. But rather than banning police officers from carrying in the Capitol, we're going to flip it on its head, give them impunity to carry, but ban civilians from carrying in the Capitol. And that's just totally ridiculous. It contradicts literally what's happened in history. Now, with respect to what this legislation and who it targets, let's be very clear. This is legislation that targets white people. It is racial, because the people who carry in the Capitol are primarily white. People who have CPLs are primarily white. And this is retaliation for the only demographic that overwhelmingly voted to support Donald Trump. And that is why it is being taken out on us, because you don't like us. And that's how it is. If we want to address gun violence, we would be focusing on the people who bring guns into communities and shoot people, like where I live in Detroit and where you represent, Stephanie Chang, which are overwhelmingly 13 to 34-year-old sub-Saharan.
Whoa, we're gonna stop that right there, buddy. We're gonna stop you right there, buddy, since we have the power of the play button. Is he yelling? Kevin Howe asked. So yeah, I think still fits, but your old video doesn't matter. You're following. He's about to say the N-word. That's why I stopped him. I had to. Okay, we're following decorum. We're following decorum, the decorum of others. Maybe we're maybe following the decorum of others, but we got to be like wolves. Okay, we're the doves that are like wolves. You guys know the verse better. But he's about to call him sub-Saharan, something to 35-year-old sub-Saharan. He's calling them that. Okay, so he's calling them, and let's see if I could just go past this a bit and then just. Because why not? Like, just check it out. Because, did I click off of it already? Because they get mad, right? They get mad and they kick him out. Basically, they kick him out. And he's like, they don't let him like talk there. And we're done. We're done. And it's like, I saw that. And it's like, I'll be honest. My first thought was like, bro. It's like, really, bro. You're gonna take a dump on this whole thing, like shake it up like that. You basically did the thing that is missing, just saying what it is, saying the truth. You did it, and then you took it up. But you know what? Maybe that's a bit of my programming or something. Like, he went viral. Well, I guess a year ago, and here I am talking about it a year later. But he went viral. He went viral, and he said the facts and all that. But I'll honestly tell you, that was my first response, because maybe I would operate a different way. I don't know. Call it just how I am. Maybe bait about it. Just call it. I really don't see it that way, because that man and I could probably agree in a sense, right? If that we might be coming from the same place, but that was just like an impression. That was just first thought. Honestly, it was effective, like I said. But the point remains, right? He did the thing. He did the thing I'm talking about. He did the one thing that's missing in this conversation, in this whole thing, in this racial thing. Just saying what it is. Hey, you guys are putting this legislation because and calling it all this, and he went other places too. He was like, you know what? You guys are doing this because you don't even like Trump supporters. Like, that was a whole other thing. And I can see that, honestly. Call it conspiratorial, but it's not hard to see when you understand the angry mind and heart. So, and just look at how many people hate Trump. You've already seen the insanity people do under that. But he did the thing, and I think that's amazing. And I don't think anyone can really take that away. I'll be straight up, though. That really was my impression, but whatever. That was just like a thing, you took a dump on it. But he did the thing. He really did. And that's all it is. Saying what it is. This is black crime. This is what this is. Enforce the rules. Do the right thing. That's simply Jake. And the only reason that it's not done is for the reasons I mentioned earlier, which is pretty evil. You got to understand that. That is so evil. That is like no love, total fear, total, giving into the worst parts, everything against the Bible, everything against anything good. So, and that's the only thing in the way. So, interesting. I got calls. I do want to get to y'all. 888-775-3773. But that's pretty much that story. It fits. It still fits thematically. But what was I going to say about this? You've seen this, for example. This is like what, breaking news? I think. I don't know. I'm breaking maybe just earlier today, but. There's this FSU shooting, right? Another one of these campus shootings. And it's like, why not? Well, anyways. Now you got this other thing. And can you see the public already? Can't you see them already? Can't you see Satan already working on their minds? Like, see, white people do it too. Rules don't matter. You won't ban guns, so we're going to do this, right? It's all extrajudicial. Well, Trump's going to do this, we're going to do that. Black people are going to do this, well, we're going to do that. Can't you see Satan already playing on their minds? in the world, America refuses to just do kind of the simple thing, say the truth.
Report.
But yeah, they're saying it's a shooting, FSU shooting latest, at least 1 dead, 6 injured. Well, you know what I said? I realized I just said something totally nuts. I said, oh, well, you can already see the minds of people going, oh, well, white people do it too. But I've made a gigantic assumption. I have no clue of the identity or any details of the shooter at the FSU shooter that I'm showing here. So let me make that clear.
Good afternoon. I'm Terry Moran in Washington, D.C., and we're coming on the air right now for breaking news. There are reports of an active shooter on the campus of Florida State University in Tallahassee. We're told there are multiple injuries. That's a law enforcement source telling us that. No specific number at this point. There's a very heavy police presence on the scene. Students are being told to shelter in place. An FSU alert notified students that the shooting happened near the Student Union building on the campus of Florida State. The FBI is assisting.
So it doesn't look like we got
local authorities
any kind of info. Like, I'm cutting it early, I guess. A little bit more. Because you know how these reports are right at the beginning. Oh, shooting happened. It's pretty bad.
At the
so what do you know? Well, the cops said there was a shooting. And, you know, we got one in custody. To you. Now going to you, Alex.
Well, let's go to ABC's chief investigator.
That was a shooting.
Aaron Katursky. Aaron, what have you heard? What do we know?
The shooting seems to be centered, Terry, on the FSU campus at that Student Union building. That's in the center of that sprawling campus in downtown Tallahassee. At the same time this shooting was unfolding, we were told Tallahassee police were actually conducting a drill with loud noises. We wondered if there may have been some confusion, but our sources tell us
so going to you, Jerry. So there was a shooting at FSU. So you get it. But just the mind. Can't you see Riley? Riley is also wondering, for he knows what's coming. Let's get to Rick. How you doing, Rick? Hampton, Virginia. Appreciate your call. You're on the air.
What's up, brother Nick? What's going on, my brother?
All is well, sir. And yourself?
Man, everything's everything here in Hampton, VA, man. Nice sunny weather, 68 degrees, if you will.
Big.
So, man, I just want to comment on the Carmelo Anthony case, man. His mom just did a press conference, what I saw, and you know, it just
really
more back, just more that everybody, she's getting death threats and stuff, and she gave her regards to the McCaff family. But here's the thing, man. They son put them in a very, very terrible situation, man. You know, I mean,
in what way?
My thing is, their son put their family.
Yeah. In what way you mean?
If he wouldn't have killed the McCaff kid, his family wouldn't be getting that. But see, what the thing about it is, I'm like, to stab somebody in the heart though with a knife.
Yeah.
I mean, that got to be a lot of anger behind that. I mean, he's saying that he grew up with a 2-parent home, but me, I'm like, no, how you not noticing that your kids ain't toting weapons and stuff, that they going through something. You know,
you bring up
it's like,
any way you slice it, it seems. Any way you slice it, it does. I don't know. We haven't seen the video, etc. But it just seems any way you slice it, it seems like this Carmelo fella went way overboard.
You know, and good thing you said that too, Nick. I'm gonna have a wait to see attitude, but what the apparent evidence looks like now, that he gonna have to mess around and take a plea. He can't a plea bargain. He can't sit up there and just get off scot-free, man. Because to me, you have to convince the jury, and the jury going to want to decide it if they don't be too scared to even make the right decision. It's really an easy case. Because I would have to say again.
The way you see it, just close and shut case. It's not self-defense, you say.
Right. I mean, I had to see, okay, was they jumping you to the point that you had to use deadly force, or was it just a push and you had to prove to you that you was tough and you stabbed them? I got to see all that. I mean, I know there are witnesses out there, and if they tried to jump you, I'm like, if that's the whole team tried to jump you, see, that's what I need to know. even when you shoot somebody in your home, you got to be threatened that he's gonna harm you in your house.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just shoot him. You got to give him a warning to get out. And if he don't get out, then deadly force is authorized. But you have to give him a chance to get out. Once he runs out, you're not even allowed to shoot him.
Right. No, they do. They have cases like that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just show me. You got to feel like it's like if I run you over my car, Nick, and you shoot to stop the threat. That's self-defense, because I would have killed you if I had made contact with my car.
Absolutely.
Or if I'm coming at you with a knife to now, as they call it now, make you unalive, then your life is threatened, because if I would connect with my knife, you would be erased.
Right. No, it's so the claim is this self-defense, but I find it just hard to. I really don't know. Right? They say that there's video.
I'm with you along the lines, and I'm gonna have a wait to see attitude as the evidence point that, let's say, if the whole entire team jumped him, and he cut him, and then that's the case, man. I don't see how he even had a chance to stab him in the heart like that.
It's crazy, that escalation. That's so violent, right? It's such a vital part. That's such a vital area.
Yeah. That's someone, when somebody kill you like that, man, they want to see you die slow and suffer.
That's terrible.
That's, to me, I read for somebody to go
So
ahead
the
and
mom
shoot
had a press conference here. So did you watch it? You watched her comment on this?
It was about 5 minutes what I saw on YouTube, and it was about 5 minutes. She was really just sad that they're getting the death threat. She did give a condolence.
Oh, that's what I wanted to comment on. You were saying that he brought this on the family. That it's terrible, this thing that Carmelo brought onto the family.
Yes, even though the family didn't do it, but by him being their son, they're gonna have to endure it.
I found that
because
a bit of
their son made a terrible choice.
Fair enough, but I found it also a bit of an interesting statement, because in another perspective, you could say that they almost don't have to do such a thing, and to take that upon yourself, the only one to blame would be you. Because consider for a moment that I'm seeing all this energy of that we're just defending, right? Just defending these racists. This is why they're mad. Their posts on Facebook, they're like, this is why they're mad, because the two parents in the household, not like that family, commenting on them, eyes on them, everybody else. No, nothing like. It's like there was a stabbing and your son committed it. So it feels like a slap on the wrist and all that. But what I'm getting at is, consider for a moment that the parents just could allow justice to happen. They could just let the right thing happen. You guys might catch this on the upcoming Punchy, so I'll leave it up to that. But I was asking them too. I was asking the guys, like, what would you guys do if that was your son?
Yeah, exactly. I tell you what, that was my son.
Yeah, what would you do? Yeah, what would you do? You were saying?
I can't. Obviously, I can't go and put my hands on their son, but I would definitely seek the death penalty, especially if he did
on your son. You said?
Oh no,
no, let's say your son committed the stabbing.
Oh, if my son committed the stabbing, the only thing I would say is, son, I need you to tell me the truth. If you overreacted, you're gonna have to face the consequences.
There you go.
If it wasn't, that's what I would tell him. But I will protect you as much as I can. But if you done it and you was out the wheel, man, you're gonna have to accept your consequences, man. And same, but like if it was the other way around, my son was the one dead, I would seek the death penalty on Carmelo if it was me, because I can't go and beat you up and kill you and get my son back. But if I can prove that you killed my son maliciously, I will seek the death penalty.
And as like a revenge?
Well, no, it wouldn't be a revenge. It'd be justice.
As like a justice for someone who would care so little about human life to that level.
Right. Like for example, if somebody, if another child came over there and put my daughter in the hospital, by the law, I can't just go in their house and beat their daughter up. So in order to protect my daughter, I have to use the justice system to do it.
And
now, if they're, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, finish your statement. My apologies, please.
Now, if their parents came out apologetic, holding their daughter accountable, if my daughter had to go to the hospital, I would say, hey, can y'all assist in her medical bills? You see, I would be willing to be lenient and forgive them, But, someone you kill somebody, that's a different animal. And I'm not saying I would seek the death penalty to be vengeful, but I would seek justice, because to me, when you take a human life being maliciously, your life should be required according to the scriptures. But like I said, a lot of the Democrats has took capital punishment out, and it's biblical.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you kill somebody committing a crime, your life is required. But see, people don't start hollering until their life is required.
It's for that reason that there is. I wonder if there is even such a thing as Carmelo putting that on the family. That's a false assertion. I think that's a false statement. You can't. We are our own world and our own things, our own stuff, and it's evil to take on someone else's. Like you said, you as a father, you would let them face the consequences, and I think that's love. I'm not saying what I really mean, like with what I mean by he brought some of this pain on his family. Yeah,
they love him so much. They in the same household. You know what I mean? That's their son, so they're gonna have to endure it. They're gonna have to endure a bad decision he made. One thing about sin, man, a lot of times sin just don't hurt you. It hurts everybody close to you.
Fair enough, Rick. Clear on that one, man. Appreciate your commentary on this. You want last thing you want to say?
Thanks for taking my phone call, my brother, and I'll see you tomorrow. Lord, say the same.
Thank you, sir. Call me again.
Yes, sir.
888-775-3773. We'll get right back to calls here. You know what? I got one more thing here to maybe. This has almost been a multi-part segment series here, thematically fitting into each other. But I got another one for you, and I think now this one's recent. Yes, it is 2025, April. And then I'm going to get right back to calls, 888-775-3773. But concerning all this stuff we've been talking about, revolution, the races, Carmelo, it's like this and that over the days. An individual, this individual is, whatever. I'm not judging him. You're judging him. You don't even know him yet. This guy this guy's going viral over something he wrote. But I found if you see this from a bird's eye view with me, you might find this as interesting as I did. But I want you to look at Nicholas Decker. Nicholas Decker here. This is an individual on social media. This is his picture. I don't know what he's doing with that. I don't know. Boy, what are you wearing on your head? You better take that off your head. Nicholas Decker with the rainbow flag. I think that's either the internet. Either he likes the internet or he likes globalism. I have to assume the latter. Ukraine. Blue check mark. A GMU Econ PhD student. A liberal Aspie. Oh, I think that's outdated, no? Asperger's? Aspie? Liberal Aspie. I post interesting papers. Michael Kremer Stan. I love optimal auction design. Spend more on drugs. Open borders now. That's Nicholas Decker. And so he's going viral. He's going viral because he posted this. Posted a little article, a little thing on his thing called Substack. Everybody, you could post whatever you want. You have your own little publication now. Just set one up, Substack, podcast, do your thing. By the way, check me out on Substack if you're trying to listen to the podcast. After the fact, I'm on Spotify too. So he posted this, when must we kill, and let me be clear, I just vow all such things, but he said, this is him posting this, when must we kill them? And I want to read a bit, just loosely, because in the beginning at least, of his little essay, his little diatribe here, about a response to this evil he's describing that has come to America. The present administration is engaged in barbarism, and his eventual justification for violence is what he's saying. This is what he's saying. So you get it, right? You follow. He's this liberal guy. And so we're going to pull this up here. Hold on here. And then again, the calls, y'all, the lines are lighting up 888-775-3773. So a little wacko in my opinion, but he seems like maybe someone young, PhD though. So, I mean, I guess you have to have been kind of cooked in the education system a little while there to get a PhD, right? But he writes, when must we kill them? Evil has come to America. The present administration is engaged in barbarism. It has arbitrarily imprisoned its opponents, revoked the visas of thousands of students, imposed taxes upon us without our consent, and seeks to destroy the institutions which oppose it. A little bit of that extrajudicial vibe, huh? Its leader has threatened those who produce unfavorable coverage and suggested that their licenses be revoked. It has deprived us, in many cases, of trial by jury. It has subjected us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution. You know, a lot of like big claims. I wonder what Nicholas Decker has gone through. I wonder what he has personally been through. But hey. Subjected to jurisdictions foreign to our Constitution, transported us beyond seas to be imprisoned for pretended offenses. Who are you talking about now, Nicholas Decker? Us? Who is us? Who's us? Wait, hold on. He's saying transported us beyond seas. You know, that's some of that. Taking it. You know how Rick was talking about. Taking upon all these people's problems that way. There's something wrong about that. Let's start with the fact that it did not happen to you, right? Us beyond seas, that's just factually incorrect. That's just already out of reality. There's a schism in your mind, sir. And it's in the first paragraph of your essay. Beyond seas to be imprisoned for pretended offenses. Okay, so that's rich. You call it pretended, but go ask Americans. Go ask Americans about life. How do you, neighborhoods and how they live. Not just the people around you, maybe, but it has scorned the orders of our courts. You know, Supreme Court, Trump, Kilmar Garcia. That's what these calls are out to. And threatens to alter fundamentally our form of government. It has pardoned its thugs and extorted the lawyers who defended its opponents. Is this a little bit Is this a little bit theatrical? Or is that just me, folks? You know, is that already like already illegal to say about this person? How do I zoom in even further? Is that already like an illegal thing to say? I'm trying to just, you know, because he's, you know, a little theatrical for my taste. You know, like real dramatic. You know, like real flamboyant, you know, flamboyant. Yeah. Am I still live? What's going on? Am I still live? Uh-oh. I think I am. Give me a 1 in the chat, folks. Emergency mode. Am I live? I think this is just loading slow. But he's got a rainbow flag in his name and he's being all dramatic. Okay, so if these actions become normal, the government could arrest anyone and deport them to prison in a foreign land without hope of redress for no reason. It's nothing less than the total abdication of rule of law in this country. There is no guard or protection against it. If this theory prevails, then it is the end of America as a free nation. But aren't you a little bit in your head, right? If these actions, if da-da-da, if da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So how do you justify this headline? You're in your head, bud. You're overreacting. A little immature, too. Don't you think? A little immature. A little quick on the draw. How old are you? So, you know, blah, 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 badly written paragraphs. He writes something here. If the present administration chooses this course, then the questions of the day can be settled not with legislation, but with blood and iron. This is their blood and iron, bud. Let me show you blood and iron. Let me show you blood and iron. Here's your blood and iron. This guy's going to take up arms, apparently. But let's not be too dismissive, right? Oh, so let's not be too dismissive. Not of bow in the hair Decker over here. We could be a little dismissive of that, but let's not be too dismissive of evil and anger. In short, we must decide when we must kill them, he writes. None of us wish for war, but if the president and administration wishes to destroy the nation, I would accept war rather than see it perish. I hope that you would choose the same. So, look, we don't have to go on further here. Because it's really shallow when you go further. It's really a lot of the same. And isn't it a little immature? Can't you see the willingness to plunge all for the whims of this guy, one? And it really is whims. It really is whims. Because put it like this. I'm not obtuse and a ignorant person who's going to say violence never happens. It should never happen. Look, it's simple. It shouldn't happen, right? We would want to avoid it, but these are the things that come about with conflict, evil people, divided minds, divided hearts. It's kind of the thing that happens, right? And you would want to avoid it. You'd want to be able to do, that's a desperation thing, right? You'd want to be able to do the right thing or whatever, while you still have the time. And I see this coming from academics, young-looking academics, like it's really immature. But I also found it fascinating a bit, this relationship going on concerning the topic so far of the day this week. Look at this response to this Nicholas Decker. It was this account that caught my eye on X, named Into the Memory Hole. And this account I'm somewhat familiar with. They post like right-wing content, like pretty like, hey, the white people are getting attacked content. And this, these people who call us racist, like whatever, we don't care, we're racist, we're based. So anyway, not trying to totally evangelize, but that's all I know of this account. But to me, it seemed like these two sides were here. Look at Nicholas Decker with the LGBT and the Ukraine and the name and the when must we kill them and his liberal anger and being the way he's being. And then the right wing, we are done with this degeneracy. He writes, or whoever this account writes, please do make our effing day. Basically saying, yeah, bring on the fight. Let's go. Let's war. Let's kill each other. So that's what this guy's saying. I disavow all this. But he's saying, please do make our effing day. Consider for a moment. It's another white man, right? Well, I don't know what this is. Okay, Decker. There's a white man, I guess. But it seems, do you see this? And I have to assume Into the Memory Hole is a white man or a white individual. Are you taking this in? This is your Civil War. Oh, it's like, no. I'm not discounting whatever problems there may be, black crime, blah, blah, blah. But as we've already discussed, the problems within, man, the problems within, people are fearful. Like, consider for a moment how the world refuses to enforce the law, be hard on crime. Imagine the absolute down in the dumps, zero love you must have to not enforce the law. And then when it comes down to it and they want a war and it's time to fight and it's time to bring down the Union and revolt, who is it? It's the white man and the white man and the... You see this? We got to overcome words, thoughts, emotions, and all this crap, man. And do the right thing without fear. And maybe that was that guy at the Michigan legislature. Maybe that was no fear. I'm not making a judgment. That's not even why I'm bringing that back up. I just want to try and bow tie this segment here because it's like we got to look within, folks. What a mess, no? And this mess here, this guy writing this about when must we kill him. What a ridiculous person. What a ridiculous, hateful person. And what an overreactor. Seriously, like, that's not happening. Like, just call it like, it's a dictator that, it's Trump deporting illegals. Just calm down. The civilization is not going to survive a Carmelo being set free. Or it might, but I'm just saying, allow me to paint this picture. These are like to save the civilization at this point. It's like, you got to deal with this black crime thing and be honest about that. And you got to deal with, what was the Civil War here? Right, deporting illegals. Oh, are you really being a dictator that we got to stand up to now? Or is it like not even close to that? Just calm down, right? So anyways, like that's it with that. We are happy with that, I believe. Okay, so that's that. So like, consider that the Civil War. You know, I made this joke before too. They make this minority black people, they'll make it so important. They call them supremacists and all that. But it's funny that this is still just the white man arguing. You know, like racism and all that, like how important it is and what should we do about it, and it's the white man still arguing. What should we do with our society? I don't know. Let's move on here. I want to get to Mark out of Los Angeles. But, you know, I can't see an answer in all that, folks. That's all I'm trying to say. I can't see an answer in all that. I can't see that. I only see peace, answers, understanding in myself. So I guess that's another thing I wanted to say. We got Mark out of Los Angeles, California. Thank you, sir. You're on the air.
Hi, Nick. How you doing?
All is well. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to apologize to your screener. I wanted to change subjects. I was going to talk about an immigration judge that is trying to stop Trump from deporting about 500,000 invaders. But I'll save that for another time.
No problem.
I don't have a lot of time here, so I wanted to ask you, in your knowledge of American history, who, in your opinion, would you say was the greatest white leader that we've had in American history?
Donald Trump.
I wouldn't. Yeah,
I can't go that far back. George Washington. I chuckle to cover the embarrassment. I'm not too embarrassed, but that's an honest answer. To be fair.
No, actually, I would say Trump was better than Washington. But the person that I want to give, and you've probably never heard of him before, was the Honorable Senator Theodore G. Bilbo of Mississippi. He was a senator in the 1940s. He was a Democrat, but the Democrats actually used to be good. You know, they talk about, well, the Democrats hated blacks and they were in the Klan. Well, the only reason the majority of Klansmen were Democrats is because they were poor. And poor people don't, become Republicans, at least not 100 years ago. But it's not so much that the Democrat Party embraced them. It just so happened that the Klansmen were were Democrats. They supported Calvin Coolidge, who I believe was a Democrat, and he was considered the Klan president. He was the one, Calvin Coolidge wrote the Immigration Act. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Immigration Act of 1924, which limited immigration to white-only countries. Of course, that was changed in 1965 by LBJ, the white sellout snake president. He was probably, next to Obama and Biden, probably the worst president, LBJ, just a total evil man.
He undid that immigration thing?
Pardon me?
He undid that immigration thing?
Yeah, he did.
Now, why is that?
Because, the Civil Rights Bill passed
Right, that was all earlier. LBJ and all that, yeah.
Yeah, LBJ was the devil. He was basically the devil. And a year later, the Voting Rights Act, which was later struck down as unconstitutional. Of course, it was unconstitutional when it was adopted, just like the Civil Rights Bill, totally unconstitutional. When they say you can't sell your house, if you don't want to sell your house to a minority, you can be sued. That's unconstitutional. It's your property, and if you don't want to sell it to a Negro, or if you want to have what's called a covenant, which they've outlawed, you can do that. A covenant is, say I want to sell you my house. Okay, the only way I will agree to sell you the house is if you meet my price and you put in writing, you will not sell this property to a Negro. Those were called covenants.
Wow, really?
They were legal.
I think I heard
they were
of
legal. And actually, President Ronald Reagan had a covenant on his home in the 1940s. It was standard. They wanted to keep a neighborhood white, and the only way to do it was to have a covenant. Now, again, the covenants were banned. And, of course, civilization's falling apart now because of integration and this fake racism argument they're using. They're even using that fake argument to get this killer in Texas freed. They used the fake racism argument in George Floyd, Rodney King. I don't know if you're familiar with who that was.
Yeah, at this point I am.
Yeah, another evil man. Basically, that's why we're where we're at today. The immigration doors were open in the mid-'60s, but the American people, especially here in California, didn't actually realize how big of a problem that Immigration Act of 65 was, because they didn't start pouring over in any noticeable way until the 70s. In the 1970s, I was already getting petitions signed to deport the illegals that were here in the 1970s.
And look at the mess that's happened.
Well, look at 1986 was a pivotal year. That's when Ronald Reagan, the fake, phony conservative, and I know that's going to offend some people, but he did give amnesty to 3 million illegals. Okay, so he wasn't the conservative everybody wants to point to. He also was a free trader. Under Ronald Reagan, that's when the jobs left America. He was a free trader like Bush, Clinton, Obama, and all the other bad presidents that we've had. Tariffs are the way to go. They try to make it look as if tariffs are a left-wing ideal, but this is how the government functioned up until 1913. I think from like 1878, I could be wrong on the year, but I know it ended in 1913 and they started the income tax. We could have lived without taxes if we had kept tariffs.
Wow. Yeah, I heard about this too because of all the tariffs and just hearing Trump talk about it. So, I'm hearing you say this about the covenants, going back there for a second, and the houses and not, getting it in writing that you weren't allowed to sell it to a Negro family and all that, how you put it. And I was thinking about that. I'm like, looking at it from my vantage over here, 2025, blah, blah, blah. Really, like logically trying to break it down. Can one really logically come up with any reason other than jealousy? Well, that's just maybe a crude simplification, but yeah, wanting someone else's stuff. That's really the only thing I can see that was the motivator behind being against such a thing, being against being allowed to have a covenant, how you described.
Well, okay, we have to
It's
go
because
back.
you can't make your own, you can't do your own, something like that, something akin to that.
Well, the bottom line, it's your property. And we have property rights in this country under the Constitution. And if you don't want to sell your house to somebody for any reason, you have the right to do that. And I think it was in 1968, another Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, not the man who's head of the Health and Human Services, his father promoted, that's the year he was killed, but he promoted an open housing law, which totally left covenants unenforceable. And that's the problem. Now they're everywhere. They're in just about every neighborhood, and we know chaos will always follow. And a lot of whites have left those neighborhoods. Chicago, for example, after let's call it the Black Revolution, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of whites just left the city. Wow. And actually, believe it or not, at one time Chicago was a white majority city. But after the civil rights movement, all that changed. I would say that the civil rights movement was probably the worst movement in the history of this country, because from the civil rights movement came the gay movement, came the women's movement, came all these other bad movements. They started from the civil rights movement of 64. And if you go back, I think it was 1924, Israel Cohen, not a Christian, was a communist spokesperson for the Communist Party USA. And I don't have his quote in front of me, but basically he took the mask off. He said, we will use the Negro with his physical prowess in sports and entertainment to placate the white majority into accepting these people. And through integration, we will destroy capitalism. And that's exactly what they're doing. An example of that are the Covenants.
I never heard of that.
Well, yeah, I don't have the quote in front of me. I'll try to get it for you, though. The man's name, Israel Cohen, he was a communist, and maybe somebody in the audience will have his quote.
Maybe.
But,
maybe even Chad O. Jackson. But hey, go. You were saying, Mark, real quick?
The Communist Party in 1924 was the first political party to adopt a civil rights plank. It was 1928, my mistake, 1928. I think it was in either Dearborn or Pontiac, Michigan, where they had their convention. This is all historical fact. I don't lie. And in 1928, they adopted the first civil rights plank in the country. And 20 years later, the Democrats adopted that plank. And it caused the Southern Democrats to walk out of the convention, known as the Dixiecrats. Wow. Because the Southern whites knew what would happen.
And I heard that. I had heard that a bit. They said, you finish your statement, sorry?
No, I'm sorry. No, just that the white Southerners knew what would happen if we integrated with these people, because they remember from their grandparents' days what happened under Reconstruction. And I told Hake this. He doesn't believe me, but it's true. The Klan was actually a liberating force, the original Klan of the 1860s. The South was under the tyranny of Reconstruction, and the Klan actually liberated the South from the Reconstruction. The people that went down there and started the scalawags and the. You
said liberated them from Reconstruction?
Yeah, they did. The Klan was.
Is such a thing? Is such a statement now? You'll have to understand where I'm coming at it from, but it seems to me like Reconstruction was almost total. Like I don't know. Is such a statement even possible to say that someone was liberated of Reconstruction?
Right. What happened under Reconstruction after the Civil War ended? They put feeble-minded, semi-retarded Negroes in charge of the government, of all the state houses in the South, and chaos prevailed. I mean, it showed pictures. They were in the state house with their feet up on the table, getting drunk. You know, similar to what happens when you integrate.
And where are you getting that from?
From history. I mean, just look up the Reconstruction.
And so, you were about to tell me how this liberation, real quick.
Well, the Klan was actually a liberating force. The original Klan of the 1860s. You know, they weren't just out there to hang Negroes. That's a lie. That's something they want to smear the Klan with. But the fact is, they liberated the South from black tyranny under Reconstruction. And I think it was President Andrew Johnson who ended the Reconstruction in the early 1870s. And then the South got its stuff back together. And after that, they formed segregation after slavery to keep their women and everybody safe from the people who did the Reconstruction, the freed slaves.
You know, I don't think I've ever heard of quite a timeline set out like that. So
yeah, the Reconstruction ended, the segregation started. I don't know what year. I can't pin down the year, but segregation started and it continued. I think it was Plessy versus Ferguson or one of those.
But I mean, I do got to hurry it up here, Mark. I got so many callers here. Last thing you want to say before we move the wheels?
Last thing I want to say, not to change the subject, but this person that called yesterday and said that I was the yin and Mays was the yang, that's an unfair comparison.
In what way?
It would be like comparing Daniel Penny to the monster in Texas that killed Metcalf. There's no there's no equating somebody like Mays and me. She stands for evil, and what she says, I stand for what's good.
But have you ever seen the yin and yang symbol?
Yeah, I have.
And do you remember how the symbol is a circle and it has like a black side and a white side? But on the black side there's a little white circle, and on the white side there's a little black circle. And so they're more alike each other than maybe you initially might think or it might look like.
I don't see how there could be any thing in common. She wants integration. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
She thinks we're all equal. I know better. She wants to ignore black. I don't even like to talk about her, really. But she.
Well, let's leave it at that then. No need to go further. But
well, no, just the point is though.
But the point has been made. You're saying you're totally different, and you know what?
Yeah,
I don't know your heart, Mark. But put it like this: you know what makes sense to me is that people can be saying completely different things. Put it like this: you ever seen how? Oh, you know what comes to mind? You ever seen how? Let me see. Well, you know what? How about this? You ever seen how, like, maybe you can almost see a really right-wing young guy supporting Hamas? Can you see that happening?
Right-wing?
Yeah, especially nowadays because they're kind of like against the Jews right now in a sense, and some are trying to criticize, and others are like whatever. But do you see that a bit? Can't you see a right-wing person going all the way around and like supporting Hamas simply because they are against Israel, whatever?
Well,
but that wouldn't that be an almost like, wouldn't that be an unnecessary and almost silly thing to then team up with this other person simply because you have this enemy?
Well, don't forget.
Wouldn't they share a kinship then?
They do.
Even though despite them having completely different ideologies, wouldn't they share a kinship in this anger they share?
Yes, they would.
And that is kind of what I see. Not about you necessarily. Sometimes it feels like it, Mark, but I don't know.
Sure, but don't forget, in World War II...
It's just anger is evil, man, no matter who it is.
Okay, but in World War II, before the war, Hitler made a pact with the Mufta, M-U-F-T-A, don't know how to pronounce it. It's some kind of high-ranking Muslim, that they would allow airspace for the Germans in the preceding war, because they agreed with each other on the Jewish question. And as recent, well, it's not recent, but after that, in the early 60s, George Lincoln Rockwell met with Muslims on the issue of the Jews. But today's Muslims, today's Hamas people, they hate whites. So there's no way the National Socialists are going to work with these people.
I kind of see them do it, though.
The commonality of the Jew, but at the same time, the pro-Palestinian college kids who hate Israel hate white America, too.
Right, but I kind of see this, what you're saying is not happening. I see it as happening somewhat.
Where is it happening?
On the internet. On the internet.
Oh, well, maybe on the internet.
Yeah, maybe on the internet. But I feel like maybe they're out there. If they're on the internet, they're out there protesting. You know what I mean?
I talk to a lot of people that you would call, or people would call, anti-Semitic or anti-Jewish, and I haven't heard one of them want to form an alliance with these people.
Well, fair enough. We'll leave it at that. I was just making a point about how these groups can share a commonality despite having these totally different ideologies. But Mark, we spent plenty of time on this. I got to let you go, sir. Call me again.
God bless. Thank you. Bye.
888-775-3773. Oh, look at all this love from the callers. Let's rock and roll with Maze out of Dayton, Ohio. How you doing, Maze? You're on the air.
Hello, Nick.
Hello, Maze.
That's the difference between sin and... You hear me?
You were saying about sin?
Yeah, if you're a sinner, you don't even know it. Because everything you say, you're sinning and call yourself good.
Me?
So I don't go around trying to make people hate people. The 60s is over and not happening again. But tell him to tell us about the property that they had to give to that family that was taken away from them. Right out there in California where he is.
Oh, you saying that one family's property
that
was...
Their land
yeah. And then like the city gave it back to them or something like that?
How many years did it take for them to get it back?
I don't know. I think quite a while, but I don't know about I forget the details.
People like him took it away.
I forget the details.
He's complaining about what? Other people? He's just a hater, and he's just like the 60s, but it's over. We can buy houses anywhere we want to. We don't have to buy used houses anymore. As long as the banks are not redlining us, we can get what we want to get. So he wants to take the books out of his classroom. They put them in the classroom, and the books, they had okay to get it there, not black people. He got himself confused with his envy. He needs to get rid of it and become somebody with a soul, because he don't have one.
But do you think a person with a soul would go to this situation about California to make... Oh, do I still have you, Mace?
No, he's talking about what the land that they had.
No, but... Wait, what?
he was talking about the land that they had and who moved into the neighborhood.
Right. These covenants.
He lied.
It was a.
And then
You're
so
saying that was a lie. That was not. That was never a thing. That you were. But he told. But let me make it clear. He was saying that you were allowed at one point to make a legally binding thing that that you could sell a house and whoever bought it, they would not be allowed to sell it to a black family, for example.
There was laws because they couldn't. So the monsters are can go anywhere they want to go, because the people that can go anywhere they want to go because they're free and they're laws and they can do what they want to do with their money.
Right, but put it like this, Maze. But can't you say the same for them? They have it's their money and they want to have their area and they don't want these people.
It's their money personally, and the one little plot or whatever they buy, it belongs to them. So anybody else can purchase what they want and go where they want to live. That's their business, not his. Because if he had a bank, he'll be really letting people too.
But your justification is simply because it's their money. But can't you say the same for these white individuals you're criticizing? It's their money. It's their property. It's what they want to do with it.
Did the black people go take anybody's land under the government? No, they didn't. The land was taken from black people. He got it confused.
But why do you have to jump to this? But why do you have to jump to like this extreme situation?
That was their living, Nick. If you take somebody's livelihood away from them, what do they have?
But you're going to. I've only ever heard of that once.
What? It's a lot of places like that.
Maybe, but I've only ever heard this happening with this one family. You're going to an extreme situation of this one family who got some land given back to them. And I remember they got this land back during a time in America where you kind of capitulate to black anything. So I don't know. I'm suspect a bit, but hey, maybe I'm judging.
Do you wonder why? Why they got their land back and why was it taken away from them? For what reason? That was their livelihood.
Can you explain to me something? What was their okay, but consider for a moment.
Like this. If I went to Canada and
they owned that home at one point, right?
If I went to Canada and took your stuff away from you,
wait, you bring up
everything you had
mm-hmm.
for you to survive and your family to thrive.
Right.
What would happen?
Well, I guess I wouldn't have it anymore.
You wouldn't want it back?
I might.
You might. Nick, be truthful to yourself.
Yes, I would want it back. It was mine.
Thank you.
But put it like
Mark's
this.
Sitting here talking about what all they had. Black people had property and they had land.
Yeah, this was a
You act like they had land.
But you're acting like they couldn't.
They're still taking land.
Wait, hold on. But wait, slow down. You're the one that's like you just said. But blacks they had land and they could buy homes and they were doing things. But you're the one who's calling. But you're the one who's calling and make it sound like they couldn't.
No, Mark.
You talk about redlining. You talk about this and that. You talk about Mark and the covenant that's not allowed. But you just agreed and admitted that blacks were buying homes. Fine.
Yes, they had homes and they weren't in their neighborhoods either.
So then everything was cool. So then you're admitting the only reason that people were against such a notion that one could stipulate that your home could only be sold to another white family is mere jealousy or mere covetousness.
That's what Mark said.
No, that's what you're admitting. Isn't that what you're admitting here?
Where you want to. You don't have to buy somebody's used house. You can review a foundation up. You can buy a house. Because he can't do it, that's not our problem. He wants to make it like it's the black people's problem, but it's not our problem. Just like I told him, his history is his problem, not ours. So he needs to get that through his skull. And then
let's break it down, Maze, one more time. Put it like this. You said blacks were buying homes just fine.
I said they had homes, but they got burnt down. And they got taken away from them.
But now you're going somewhere else. Now you're going somewhere else. Now you got to add another thing.
No, that's what I said.
I don't believe that stuff either. Because if those... I don't believe that was such an issue.
You don't believe it.
Here, put it like this.
You just saw it when they got the land back.
Let me finish, man.
They had prime land.
I don't believe that it was. I don't believe that it was a long-lasting issue. Let's say it was even true that they were burned down. But those blacks, if I know anything about them from the things I've learned, things I've heard, let me say, I'm hearing them from you, a black woman that I can. Are you in?
Wait,
Maze, are you all of a sudden someone you're the one saying it? Should I all of a sudden not trust you? You said that they owned homes. You said that they owned homes, and if the blacks were anything like how I heard, they would have rebuilt that so-called place that was burnt down. So I don't want to hear that.
I didn't say that so-called place.
And I heard they did. I saw evidence that they did just that. I saw evidence. They rebuilt. Now we're just yelling at each other, Maze. But you ever see that how they rebuilt Black Wall Street? Maze, you ever see how they rebuilt Black Wall Street?
Do I have to see how they rebuild it? I'm not talking about black. I'm talking about all of the places that were burnt down and taken away.
Okay.
They ain't rebuilt nothing.
Anyways.
And as I'm saying, Mark won't talk about that. Those people were happy, doing what they needed to do, and they had families and all of this stuff. And then by Black Wall Street, we can go there too. In Oklahoma. But that's not the only. They had them down in Florida. They had them in Alabama, Mississippi, all across this country. So somebody take your resources and your life away from you and you turn around and say that what you had back in the day.
So basically you called in to say, what about them? That's all you called in to say?
No, that's not what I'm saying. This is 2025, and I'm not walking around talking about what somebody should have and what community should be here. It's like I say, if you can live in the community and you can afford it and the people in it get along, it's not your business what they're doing.
Can you
don't even like race mixing. And race mixing didn't come about because of black people. Race mixing came about rape. Just like I always talk about Robert E. Lee granddaughter. So
isn't that a bit of isn't that more May's assumptions?
I know his great granddaughter.
Isn't that more May's assumptions? Yeah, but not all.
And when it comes to Chicago and all those different places, he don't know what he's talking about there either. Because they own land in Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Maze, before we move the wheels here.
We have history, and we have it written down. We have history that was passed down through the family.
You know what?
Which y'all don't know. I'm telling you, passed down through the family. You can see the things.
Right. And so on that point, Maze, we have history. Before I let you go,
since you want to hear his history,
I want to hear about your uncle, but can you pick one thing?
10 cents a day. Well, he was probably out there. I don't know what he was making. His sons are still alive. They're in their 90s and 80s. And so he sit back here with this mess come from the 60s that's over and not going to happen again with his envy, because that's all it is envy. Then he called the people down in Rick on here talking about the family going to be hurt. Both families are going to be hurt. Anytime anybody get killed, the family going to be hurt, regardless of what color it is. Color don't have nothing to do with it.
So were blacks amazing or were they victims? It's not clear.
When it comes to crime, if you want to ignore it, act like it's not there, just like
so were blacks amazing or victims back in the day? It's not clear with the way you speak, but
what you mean?
Let's leave it at this, Maze. Can you pick?
What I just said if you didn't understand.
No, I'm just not. You keep going out. You keep going back and forth, speaking out of both sides of your mouth. You're both saying they own stuff. Your uncle was this, and they were so blacks were amazing, but also they're victims. They are victims of redlining and victims of Mark's racism and victims of this. So it's unclear. It's unclear how you see blacks, honestly.
And the person that started this time was John Hanson, was the first president. The first president, since Mark wanted to talk about, tell him to give you some history on John Hanson.
John Hanson. Well, you know what? He gave us some homework.
They got his picture.
I'll take homework from Teacher Maze. I got some.
Nobody can see or know about him.
I got some homework from Mark. I got some from Maze. How about that?
Mark ain't gave you no home. All Mark gave you a bunch of hatred.
But
because Ronald Reagan was a Democrat before he was a Republican, and so was Trump.
Folks, chat. What do you think? Yin and Yang? Is this Yin and Yang right now? What do you think? I'm just asking the audience a question. But Maze, what was I going to ask you? I forgot. Oh, you said you just called in and say, what about that, Maze? But anyways.
No, I'm not saying about what. I'm just trying to help Mark out with his stuck in the 60s.
Oh yeah, can we leave the conversation like this? Can you pick one thing he said that was factually incorrect? And can you educate me?
Everything he was saying.
No, pick one thing. Pick one thing he said. Tell me how it's wrong and educate me correctly, please. Out of pure love and understanding. And
out of
go.
pure love and understanding, the laws came about because of things that they were doing, and that's pure and simple.
Say that again.
The laws that came about and stopped from people from being mistreated. It's pure and simple. But he wants to stay there and go back there.
Wait, what? What law is that? Wait, what are you talking about?
All the laws that people got to make them the way what they are today.
But what was one thing Mark said that he's wrong about, and you educate me correctly?
Why did they have to come up with laws? If people were being so Christian-like, why did they have to come up with laws for people to have the rights in this country? That's what I want to know. Answer the question, Nick.
I think that's
why didn't they, if everything was so perfect?
That might be a deeper question than I initially thought.
It's deeper than you got, than you want to look. But if you look at some history,
that might be deeper than you think, Maze.
No, yeah. You tell me.
Then you even know. I flip it back on you, Maze.
You don't even want to follow the laws they got now.
You're basically asking. Do you even realize what you asked? You're basically asking, why must man write down anything? It's because we commit the greatest sin of all, to forget.
You got that right.
We
Some
forgot love. We forgot God's love.
Really?
I don't know how else to put it, Maze, but you ask maybe a deeper question than you
No,
realize.
you didn't forget his
Why
law.
do we
You forgot
write
his law.
down anything? Laws.
You forgot his law.
You realize the laws get crazier. It's like you see on labels of stuff, don't eat this, and it's like a battery. It's like, duh, but
That had
you
nothing
got to
do
have
with
crazy
what
laws
Mark
for
was
crazy
talking
people.
about. You ain't learned nothing from Mark except a whole bunch of hate and what he want to be.
I don't know if I
Separated
learned
from
anything from you, Maze, but
He
I
can
do have to
segregate
let you
himself.
go. You got to
He
call
can
me back.
segregate himself. He can be happy. I wouldn't care. Let him segregate himself.
Right on.
Separate-
See, that ain't so bad.
segregate himself.
That's
It
just
won't
like
bother me.
freedom, don't you
I
think,
don't have
Maze?
to be like him.
But isn't
'Cause
that
he don't
just
have a
freedom?
soul.
Don't you? So you agree?
without a
Yeah, that's freedom. You should be
like
able to
my freedom.
separate. You should be able to sell
I like
your
my
home.
freedom, and I like to be. I like my freedom to go where I want to go, and come back when I want to come back.
And so
I'm not
covenants are
gonna fear-
cool.
But and in the places I know I don't need to be, I don't go there. People in some neighborhoods like
Maze,
him.
would you
I
call
got
me
sense
back
to not go
sometime?
there. I
Especially
ain't got to hate them people.
Chad would love to
Call them names.
ask you some questions someday. So maybe
Maybe God
maybe
gonna
some
bless
other
him
day
one
you
day.
call me and Chad is in the chat.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Chad O. Jackson? You ever seen Uncle Tom, by the way, Maze?
No, and don't plan on seeing it.
But Maze, call me again sometime, and hopefully when
but
Chad's in the
Nick-
chat, you guys could talk. Because you could, if you
can't
call
leave
in,
my
Chad, I could put you both on the air. That is, we have the technology.
Well,
But-
you can do that. That won't be no problem with me. I'm not afraid of people.
Well, okay, Maze. Call me again, Maze.
All right, you too. Have a good one.
Amazing. Folks, look at all these calls. Let's see, what else do I have here on my packet? I mean, this is all fun stuff. Let's leave this for tomorrow. Friday fun day. Let's love on these calls. Why don't you love on your son? That's something I heard. You gotta love on your children. All right, Jeff out of Louisiana, who's been holding for a while. Thanks for your call, sir. You're on the air.
Man, listen to Maze reminds me of something John Kennedy, my favorite singer, said the other day.
Wait, say that again, Jeff.
I said, listen to Maze. Sorry, excuse me. Listen to Maze reminds me of something John Kennedy said the other day. My favorite singer out of Louisiana.
What did he say?
He said the instructions on shampoo bottles are right for people like AOC.
You got to repeat that.
The instructions on shampoo bottles are right for people like AOC.
Like AOC?
I'm sorry, my voice messed up. He said the instructions for shampoo bottles are right for people like AOC.
Yeah. You seen crazy instructions like that?
Yeah, but
instructions on shampoo bottles are written for people like AOC.
Yeah.
And I see more and crazier and crazier laws and labels.
Yeah, but the yin yang thing, man. Do you notice that yin and yang is a big black area, a small white circle, and a large white area covered with a little black circle?
That's true.
What does that make about Mark and Maze?
Well, I really don't want to even make it about Mark and Maze. That was a comment someone else said, and I don't know if I personally know exactly. But I just know that there's no difference between two angry people. They're really spiritually, although they may look differently and act differently and say different things, there really is no spiritual difference between two angry people who've given themselves unto anger.
Man, the reason I called in though was I was going to ask you, you live in California a little time now. You could give me their slang terms, or slang sayings and stuff.
You're like what?
Like, excuse me, hold on a second.
Whoa. I'll put Jeff on hold there while he coughs that out. Jeff, you good?
Yeah, man.
Take a drink of water, man. Go get you some water. Do you want me to put you on hold, get you some water?
No, I had a great.
All right, go ahead. Like a comment like what?
I have a great uncle who came out there years ago to do logging in California.
Mm-hmm.
And when he come back, his favorite thing to say was, when you want to tell him, like, hey, guy.
He said that a lot, you're saying?
Yeah, like,
he totally changed up his vocabulary. He started saying, hey, guy?
Yeah, it's like, hey, guy.
Hey, guy. Hey, guy. Is that a California thing, you think? It might be. Hey, guy.
I don't know. That's where he got it from.
I've heard hella. Hella is kind of California, maybe a certain area. But yeah, people switch up their vocab, and they're like, wow, I love California so much. And you just start talking.
Well, you lived there for years. You're doing all
Do you think I adopted any Los Angeles slang, or is that what you're getting at?
Man, I just asked if you recognized it because I don't really know it, but I know
I'm trying to think of something. Hella. Yeah, I'm trying to think of something else. I can't.
Like it's all good.
Oh, it's all good. You think that may be just like a.
I was saying like hell good.
City slickers talk. You know what I mean?
I know. He go out there. He come back. He was doing logging out there, and he put his doge off the side of the mountain and broke his back. So he come back to Louisiana, but
he came back with a broken back and a different vocabulary.
Yeah,
California will change you.
There's always when we was doing something, like he done a lot of stuff, a lot of like logging stuff here, but first time seeing like, hey guy.
I'm thinking of the Hake intro. Hey guys. Hey guy, hey guy. I feel like I heard that in Canada actually a bunch.
Yeah, hey says that every morning actually.
Well, true say, hey, Jeff. Here's some Canadian slang for you. True say, Jeff. True say.
And I don't want to talk to them too brief tall.
Last thing you want to say, Jeff?
And I have something else I can't remember what. But anyway, you have a good day, man.
Take care. Call me again, sir.
Yeah.
888-775-3773. Like I said, so many calls. Derrick out of Virginia. How you doing, sir? Go ahead.
Hey, this is the Anchor Baby.
Yes, sir.
Okay. First, I'm a black guy. Get that out the way.
Okay. He black.
I just want to piggyback on Maze. Maze to me is a race baiter. I think she likes to trigger people. She keeps talking about the past with black people, and I just want to put my little 2 cents in that. After the emancipation of blacks, after slavery, blacks were offered lands all through the South. Now, a lot of these blacks were illiterate; they couldn't read and write, but they held on to these lands. And yeah, that's true. That's true. What happened in Oklahoma, the burning, but that was that one particular area. And when the Jim Crow law ended, integration happened. The Democratic liberals paid to get those deeds from the lands of all those blacks in the South. That's how blacks lost those land. They didn't lose those land because was forced by whoever, the KKK. No, that didn't happen that way. My grandfather, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and I met a lot of people who own those lands. I'm originally from the North, New York City, but I have family in the South in Alabama, and they told me all about what happened back then, and but they never really got into that racial stuff because a lot of them I talked to, they just said they just lived their life. I mean, what happened happened. Slavery happened, and they got emancipated. Just like a lot of races been through slavery at some point in time in history. So it's just not blacks. So I wish black people stop this nonsense about we're the only ones that been tortured, and you haven't been tortured. Your ancestors have been tortured, and you don't even know if you're a foundational black, because a lot of blacks didn't come from slavery. That's in America now.
Wow.
So they have to do that. They have to do the research. My family did not come from no slavery. So I did my research. So this is a bunch of nonsense, and I never experienced racism growing up in the 70s and 80s. And I've been to And I've been in the military, and it was predominantly white in the Navy. And I worked in the shop where it was predominantly white. I never experienced it. I had whites that was from the South, some from the Northwest. Never experienced it. I went to a predominantly white college in Alabama. Never experienced no racism.
Amazing.
I know I'm just one person, but racism is people get the definition wrong of that. You've been denied, like those people back, the ancestors back in the 20s, 30s, 40s. They've been denied a lot of stuff. That's racism. When you've been denied that you can't even drink from a water fountain, that's racism. But today, and modern society, these blacks have not been through no racism. I never experienced it. They never experienced it because they've never been denied anything. You can do whatever you want to in America. It does. Long as it's constructive and legal. So that's just a bunch of nonsense. They just bringing up stuff just to trigger people.
That perspective is everything to me because in the criticism within it is the antidote. When you're on my show here informing the people that those blacks did not lose that land in the way they said. That's a freeing truth when you really look at it the right way. It's like, wow, I really can do what I want to do. Essentially, there is no specter here.
Well, see, when those blacks all through the South lost their land, and the liberals, they had a plan, and the plan, because they knew a lot of those blacks were illiterate. They couldn't read and write, so they didn't understand the deed. They didn't understand the contract, what they were signing over. And the ones that that they send their children to school, but I guess they wasn't there to read the contract, or so they can get that deed, so they can keep that deed.
Mm-hmm.
Once you lose that deed to the land, and it's all over. That's when that movement came, where blacks started moving up north. And my mom is originally from the South. She's originally from Alabama, and so in the 50s she moved to New York City. I guess just on her own will, because she felt like there was a better chance for her to get a job and work. And yeah, so
yeah,
it I know a lot of them are probably gonna hate my guts. I don't really care. A lot of blacks. I'm not saying all, but it is what it is. So yeah, I don't understand it. I don't understand the anger. I just think it's within. It's a spiritual, like Jesse Lee says.
Yeah,
it's a spiritual battle. This, you got Satan walking the earth. So
yep.
His whole purpose is to kill, steal, and destroy. And only power he has is to get in your conscious thoughts.
Wow.
And put evil thoughts, even good thoughts, is bad. So
yeah, that's what people are going through.
Yeah, this is what a lot of people are going. That's why they're on the broad path, because they just don't want to accept. They want to stay in their sin. They don't want to turn their life over to Christ.
Yeah,
so that He can come into their life. He can change your heart, because your heart is deceivable. It's deceiving.
Fair enough, Derrick. First time on my show. Thanks. You heard of my show through Jesse, I imagine.
Yeah, I've called Jesse a couple times, but
I appreciate your call on this,
calling
Derrick.
you.
Yeah. So, well, thank you so much.
No problem. You have a good
Call
day.
me again.
I sure will. All right.
888-775-3773. Look at the time already. Look at that. Time flying here. How about we do something a little different? Let's switch it up here with something different. Let's see. What do we want to do in the last bit of the show? I feel like I have a couple funny things. I feel like I have something here that is a bit of maybe a charge against myself here. It's like on all the things I could be reporting on. More again, Nick, celebrity stuff. What are you back on the Daily Mail? But you got to understand apparition in the mind. I'm simply scrolling. I'm simply taking it all in. And maybe, I don't know, maybe I can't hide under that. I'm clicking on it. It's just the ladies here, they're so silly. They're so silly. And it's like it's kind of like their world in some ways, in many ways. It's not. It's really just weak men. But, the claims is the future is female. But I charge them that it's already it's already female. We are suffering for that reason. Society and civilization is suffering for that reason because society is already female. In many ways, they run the home. But hey, now I'm going on a diatribe. Okay, I'm a maniac. I gotta forgive women. But I'm going to the women here and the celebrity here, who's some British lady. She's some star of some show, White Lotus. Amy Lou Wood. You seen this? They're making fun of her teeth, basically. I keep seeing articles. Right, I'm scrolling, trying to get the real news here, right? Iran, they're having the Trump administration is having like an internal civil war over bombing Iran, folks. And they may have narrowly avoided a World War III, where the reports are, I don't know how true it is, that some in the Trump administration blocked this thing where it was going to be like a bombing of Iran, and they're like, no, we want peace. Isn't that amazing? But I'm trying to get the important news, and I'm like, okay, Amy Lou Wood's teeth. We got to deal with this. Maybe we'll deal with Iran in a moment here. But it's like it's their world, ladies. And I wouldn't have clicked. I wouldn't have cared. I wouldn't have cared if they didn't commit this. What they did with the English language here, and they are now calling her teeth inspiring. And it's like now that her teeth are inspiring. And it's just so silly. It's just so silly. I had to show you. So Amy Lou Wood, she's some actress, okay? And the whole thing is she's got these funny teeth. And they're not even that funny, right? She's like this cute girl. But this is an image right here of an actress on SNL making fun of this actress. And so these are like prosthetics, right? And all these articles are like, oh, they're so mean. It's like, really, what are you going to do? Like, whoa. They sent her flowers. They're apologizing to this actress. It's like, really? What kind of evil world are we living in? You're thinking, that's not a big deal, right? But I'm telling you, this is like the get away with murder spirit. The same get away with murder they do in the homes. It's crazy. And it's no love. Nobody loves the women. And they're the ones running love. They're the ones who have the monopoly on love. You feel me? But nobody loves them, and so they don't have it, they don't show it, right? The proof is in the fact that nobody wants to tell her, hey, you're wrong for getting offended. Like, whatever, they did a joke, drop it. Don't make a crusade of this. And the funniest thing about this is she does look like this. This is not even that mean. Her teeth they're big. And her eyes are like that. Her eyes are all, look. Obviously, she's like a cute girl or whatever, but her teeth look like you have teeth like that. You have teeth like that. Your teeth are like that. That's not whatever. And then I call it inspiring. So that's why I had to click on it. And I thought it was maybe funnier. Kind of a switch gears here, but your teeth are not inspiring. Women find that inspiring, right? It's like, wow, she has an ugly feature, but wears makeup anyways. That's funny though. She looks at morals like teams. My teeth as a child were rabbit-like. Big teethus, beaver teeth. It's silly, whatever. It's kind of a silly thing, but it kind of segues into, because we're in the UK, right? So now I get to play my little segue game. Because now we're in the UK, right? And now we're in the UK and we're seeing J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling is channeling the A-team as she parties in the Bahamas. Well, she's from the UK, right? And the news is about something over there. Supreme Court ruled on transgender women. You know, it seems like even Loco London is not down with the trans. They celebrated a Supreme Court ruling. Okay, come on, go away. What is this? A Supreme Court ruling that trans women are not legally women. Trans women are not legally women over there in the UK. So imagine that. Just a little bit of news for you, I thought. They are not legally women. But, you know, I wonder, are trans men legally, are trans men not legally men? Or is it well, if you could prove it, well, if you can fit the criteria, it's like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Women should be kept out of men's spaces simply because they are women. Simply. That's fine with me and makes sense. But that you can't even say such a thing, right? And then in that relationship, you see how the feminists were able to go against transgenderism, and it has nothing to do with them repenting and admitting they were wrong for hating men, admitting they were wrong and repenting for being so resentful, and whatever things they were right about men, and there's plenty of things you could say, they're wrong for being angry, right? Resenting. But it's like they were allowed to skip that just by making it a feminist thing. Like, oh, trans women can't be women. You think you could just listen to how they talk, right? You think you could relegate womanhood to wearing a skirt and makeup? Well, you think you could relegate manhood to just being able to play football with them and like, I can fly planes too? Like, no, get out of here. But okay, babe, maybe they can fly planes or whatever. I'm just thinking, I don't want to be on that plane. I'm just personally speaking. But anyways, what else about this? Wow, look at the time. Let's do this real quick. I was trying to break it up, calls after calls, because you're still holding patiently. We're going to do this quick. Vicky, Texas, we got mere minutes. I appreciate your call. You're on the air.
Hi, Nick. It's been a minute.
Appreciate your call.
But I just wanted to say there's no love in the world, dude.
Big time.
Like, you can spit facts all day long about the past. Let's just put it out there. Derrick did a great job. Thank you, Derrick. But it is what it is. There's no love. And that's the problem. There's too much hate. There's just so much hate, anger, hate, blame. Let's be victims. Let's all point fingers. And it's so pathetic. But it doesn't have to be this way. Everybody's a group thinker now. Nobody's an individual. Nobody wants to know who they are. Nobody really seeks God. And like Derrick said, everybody's on the wide path. Nobody wants to step into the fire. Nobody wants to challenge themselves. Nobody wants to stick next to God and know that he's in you and he's your guide. And you don't have to have this. I mean, it's real. This is real talk. This is the truth. And when you know that who's in you, you have it all. You have it all. You overcome the world, and like God's like number one. And if you can't say that and know that everything that I do is because of him. Everything I've overcome is because of him. And Jesse puts it out there perfectly. You know, stop hating, go forgive, because in true forgiveness, you can forget. So how about we start forgiving, start with your parents, and then God does change your heart. And that's just reality. And it's like, I listen to things now, and it's just like, oh, tit for tat, here we go again, more hate. Where's the second commandment from, love thy neighbor as thyself, it's not there anymore. The world's just so hateful, and that's the problem. That's the problem.
Appreciate
That's
that,
it in a
Vicky.
nutshell.
Yeah, appreciate
Yeah.
that, Vicky. Implication is the answer is right there too. Just let go.
is.
Vicky, appreciate your call. Call me again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Nick. Have a great day.
Bye-bye. Ronnie, Ohio, mere seconds, sir, but I wanted to get to you, man.
Yeah, my guy Nick, how you doing today?
All is well, Ronnie. Thanks for calling me.
Yes, sir. I know Chad O. Jackson was on Hake's show.
Yeah.
I was wanting to get your thoughts and see what you learned if you watched Uncle Tom too.
I did. I watched them both. And the first thing that comes to mind, the one thing that really stuck, and there's more if I probably thought about it more, you call me back on this since we're so close to the end. But the one thing that really stuck was that one segment in Uncle Tom 2 where Chad seemed to put some give it some attention. Black Wall Street, this bit of attention. It really needed attention because I had heard it over and over and over and over again, and it turns out they had rebuilt it like right after. And the claim is they burned it down and they were unable to. But those same blacks that were able to rebuild, they had it in them, right? They were able to do. And so, I know it just stuck with me because it just solidifies it. Everything is within, and we're our only blocks in the way. It's us in the way, etc. You know.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I'm gonna watch it again. I know I watched it once and it was forgetful.
You said forgetful?
Me, so yeah.
Fair enough. Hey, maybe we could talk about it. Ronnie, call me again, sir.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. James, Maryland, I couldn't get to you, sir. I am out of here, folks. What a nice Thursday. We're back Friday. More American Anchor, baby. Fun stuff tomorrow. Open Line Friday on the JLP show. What else? Fallen State, Hake Report. You know how it goes. Take care, folks. I'm out for now. Peace. Bye. Oh, and Lil Nick, too. He's got to say bye. Bye.